So as you guys probably know, over this weekend, it's been E3. And one of those shows at E3 was none other than Ubisoft. Everybody knows about that. And during this showcase, there was one game that caught my eye. Well, I say caught my eye, but this game has caught my eye for a long time, even back when it had a different name. And the game I'm talking about here today is none other than Rainbow Six Extraction. This game has some features that seem familiar to me that are features that I personally like in video games, and it seems to have been taking those features and making them into something entirely new, and that gets me pretty hyped for this game. And because of that, I want to go over this game and talk about what we know about it and finally end it off with my general thoughts about it. So with that all said, let's go ahead and get into this. So the first thing that I think we should start off with is that, yes, this is a standalone game that costs $60 and is separate from the original Rainbow Six. Yeah, sure, it runs on the same engine, and in fact, you even get benefits for owning both games, but at the end of the day, it is a standalone game that, as I said, costs $60. So it seems like there has to be a lot of content that has come alongside with that to justify that $60, which we'll be getting into here in a little bit. But as for what's in the game, the first thing that I think is very important to mention is that this game will have 12 different maps on launch that you could play on. And I don't know exactly how crazy these maps are, or how big they are, or how long you can play just one map, but I do know that there are going to be 12 maps, and I think that's going to be good. I'm not sure. We're again have to see how these maps actually play out, maybe when we see more gameplay or full gameplays of the entire maps or something like that. But if we assume that these maps are quite large, then I think 12 maps sounds like a good amount to launch with. The next thing that is probably important to mention is that this game can be played rather solo or 3-player co-op. Now, they never mention if you could just go 2-player co-op or what, or if it just has to be solo or 3-player, but at least we know that those are the two main options, which is always a plus to have that solo option. But as for the gameplay itself, you guys probably saw just as much as I did in that 7 minutes worth of gameplay. And from what it looked like kind of like Extinction. I know I don't want to say this because every zombies YouTuber is saying this right now, but it did kind of look like Extinction, except more tactical and more in-depth. Because if you guys don't remember how Extinction played, Extinction was that you just walked and went to these hive nests, you destroyed the hive nest, and then you went to the next one, the next one, next one, next one, then until you destroyed all of them. And from what we saw in the gameplay is that it looked like a more tactical version of that with more crazy enemies. Because what it looked like the main objective of every single, I guess, section of this level that we saw was that we were destroying these weird, maybe nest type of deal things. I'm not really sure what they are. And that seemed like it was the main goal of all of these. I hope there is variety to that and not that's all we do, but at least that's what we saw. Now, I should also mention that it just isn't, you just have to go one go like Extinction was. Instead, there's these areas that you could stop, regroup, and resupply and stuff like that, which is, something that's pretty nice. But I don't know how far these maps go down. I don't know if it's going to be more like a raid from Destiny or if it's going to be more like Extinction in the end. But to me, it seems like it's going to be one of those two things. But there's nothing else I could say about the gameplay because I couldn't find much besides that, and all we really saw was the gameplay. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this game plays as we get more revealed to us. But as for, I guess, the systems that are going to work inside the game is that one is you're going to be able to play as operators, and you're going to play as the same 18 operators from Rainbow Six. But these operators aren't just cosmetic. These operators actually have abilities, much like they do in the original Rainbow Six. And you could actually not only have these operators, you could also level up these operators, boost up their stats, and gain access to new loadout options and powerful combat perks. Whatever those are, I'm not entirely sure, but that's what you could do. And that's pretty important because it looks like you could take turns leveling up all 18 operators until you have all of them max level with all their stuff unlocked, which would probably make you pretty overpowered. So I'd love to see how that all would play out, and that's something I like to see, which is a system that is kind of similar to, we're going to stop with the Extinction references right now, but either way, it seems like a cool progression system from what I've seen. I think this progression system has been used in the past before. The one game that I remember it being used in is Ghost Recon Future Soldier, for the people who played that game. But yeah, other things that you get throughout your progression, and this is something that I don't know if it's tied to the individual operator's progression or if it's an overall progression for you, but you can progress to unlock more guns that you could use, because you do spawn in with the gun that you're probably going to be using throughout the entire time. So again, I'm not sure what, they weren't really clear on how the guns are unlocked, but we do know at least that you could progress further and then unlock some more guns for you to be able to use. Now, as for the operators and their abilities, they actually gave us a lot of the operators and their abilities, and if you guys actually want to read through all of them, you could do this. I'll link it down in the description if you want to just go over all of them, but for now, I'm just going to read off just a couple of them for you guys here. So as you guys can see right here, there's the Pulse Operator, and his ability is to detect VIPs, MIAs, and enemy nests through obstacles, and the weapon he spawns in with is the M1014 shotgun, which will be available in the beginning of the game. And then it does clarify here that you can unlock additional weapons through your progression. Again, they do not mention if it's progression of your operator or maybe an overall progression. For another operator, we have Doc, and what his ability is fire his health pistols to heal or revive himself or teammates when down, and he also starts off with the shotgun being the SG-CQB. And now thinking about when it says you can unlock additional weapons throughout your progression, I wonder if that's actually progression through the game or the map. I'm actually curious about that now. But for the last one I just want to point out is going to be Ela. And what she could do is throw sticky proximity mines, stuns enemies caught in the blast. Mines could recharge over time. And she starts off with the Scorpion EVO-3 machine gun. And then, of course, says the same stuff over again. And, of course, if you want to read through all of the operators and their abilities and the weapons they spawn in with, then I'll link it down in the description for you guys to read through all of them. But overall, you guys get the idea. And one thing I should mention is back to what I said earlier, is that when you do complete missions, you will not only level up the operators, but you will boost their stats, whatever that does. I'm not exactly sure, but I imagine it's going to be something like maybe stamina, health, and stuff like that. But then there's also the powerful combat perks that we have no mention of here in the operators. So I don't know if that's going to be something, again, you unlock through general progression or by leveling up an operator. Either way, it seems like there's a lot of progression here to do. But one important thing that they did mention about your progression in this game is that if your operator that you have leveled up goes and dies during a mission, you will lose all, and I mean all, progression for that operator. So if you maxed out an operator, but then you die as that operator on a mission, then you will lose all of your progression, which sounds pretty harsh, and it kind of is, but I do think they didn't make this clear, but it seems very likely that you can save that operator, because what we see through the trailer is that you could go back into the same mission where you died and you could go save the operator that died there. And they don't say that you will save all your progression there, but I think it's pretty likely that if you are able to save your other operator that died there, you are going to be able to save all that progression you would have lost. But I think that kind of wraps it up for all of the progression and gameplay. But one small thing, it's actually not too small now thinking about it, but one last thing that I think we should mention about this game is that it will have cross-save and cross-play at launch, which is huge ups, because I was curious if they were going to have that or not, because it seems like that's where all video games are going now, which is something I love to hear. So I'm glad to see that crossplay and cross-save are going to be available in this game also. But now to end off this video, I do want to give my personal thoughts and opinions on this game and from what we've seen so far. And I do got to say, there's a lot of things in this game that I generally find super interesting. I think there's a lot of gameplay elements that I feel like previous games in the past have implemented poorly, but if they do it correctly in this game, I think it could be done really well. And especially by the fact that this game is like a full standalone game, so all of the resources for this game are going to be focused on just extraction and nothing else. I think that really gives it a really great opportunity to really expand on a lot of these things. It's kind of like what the Call of Duty Zombies community has asked for a while for a standalone zombies game, except for this instead. And that's how I imagine that this could be so much better if every single piece of resource is going to be focused in on this. But another thing that I'm kind of not sure about is the maps, because as I mentioned earlier, there are going to be 12 maps at launch. But I'm curious if they're going to support this game in the future with more maps and further updates. And if they do, are all of those maps going to be free, or are you going to have to pay for them, season pass type of deal stuff, or what's going on with that? But finally, I think we should mention the most important thing that my thoughts are on, and that's from the gameplay we've seen so far. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of aspects of this game that I think are really cool that I haven't really seen anybody successfully do in a way that was really good. So I think there's a huge opportunity for that. Another thing is that I don't really know how these maps are going to play out. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know if it's going to be more like Extinction from Call of Duty Ghosts, or if it's going to be more like a Rage from Destiny, where you just go on these giant missions and just doing the same thing over and over again, like in Extinction, or if it's going to have different puzzles you could do along the way. Personally, I wish that it would have a good mixture of gameplay and more of quest type of deal stuff, similar to main quest in Call of Duty Zombies. So, you know, I kind of hope it's going to be like that. I hope it's not just destroy this nest, destroy this next nest, destroy this next nest. I hope it's not going to be like that. I don't think it's going to be, but we're going to have to wait and see. But the final thing that I want to mention about this gameplay and my thoughts are on is the tactical aspect of it, because as you guys saw, this game seemed very tactical, unlike any other game that you would imagine is similar to it to play at all. Like, if you think about the games that you think are similar, like I said, there's Extinction, maybe Call of Duty Zombies, or maybe Destiny Raids. I don't really know if that's a good one, but all of those ones, like, those are much more fast-paced, and this seemed pretty slow-paced. And that's not to say that there isn't any fast pace in this game, because we literally don't know. There could be some gameplay that they haven't showed us that is much more fast-paced and much crazier and stuff like that. But at least going off of what we've seen, it does seem quite slow-paced. And because of that, I think that this game is rather going to really strive off that tactical play, or it's going to really flop because of that tactical play, at least in my opinion. But either way, that's about it. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts also on this game. What do you guys think about it? What do you guys think about what we know about it, the gameplay, the progression, the crossplay, or anything like that? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section. But that's going to be out for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all the great stuff. But I'm going to go. I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever the heck it may be. And laters, guys.